How to get rich, and really, really, isn't every presentation, everything about either how to make money, how to save money, how to make your life better? I'm going to narrow it down a little bit to just related to programming, and it's mainly based on my experience, and really, it's not so much that I'm sharing this with you because I'm so rich, it's more, I'm doing this presentation for me just as much as for you. But simple concept of economics here. All it takes for you to have a condition is when you know something that your client doesn't know or that they want and they're willing to pay for, and you can give it to them at a value that's worth it to them. Notice that you only need to know a little bit more than your client. You don't need to be the super guru in everything. In fact, they don't care if you are. They just want to know that you've got something that of value that they can use and maybe make money. And just take, for example, I wanted to take a picture one day, so I signed up for photo school. I got a degree. 6 years later, I can take a better picture than if I hadn't gone to school. But do you need to take that approach on everything? No, of course not. And as we know, Rami said, you do the project with the developer that you have, not the developer that you wish you might have or that you might have in the future. You might not want to use that line to your client when things aren't really going well, but it really is a reality. Every project is a matter of trade-offs. And I wanted to say perfection's overrated, but it's really more like being too specific is a problem. And I just found this picture, and I thought it was pretty awesome because we have that, or my mom has this, and my kid swears this is a photoshopped picture, which I don't think so, just for some reason. I'm not sure why. It looks like it could have been, but anyway. I ran into this student who's graduating, I think it was from the Art Institute, and he said that he's going to be specializing in, hair modeling with water reflective, very esoteric, specific thing, which maybe you can do that. I don't really know that industry, but I don't think programmers can do that. You can't say this is the stack I'm going to use because this is the coolest thing. You don't do it in that order. You don't want to be perfect at everything or to know everything before you start, or you'll have that problem of the photographer who goes to school first before you can take a picture. Now, and I don't want to get down on being a craftsman. I just realized Ward wrote the foreword of this. I almost went and took the picture of the real book because I do have it and I love this book, and I have nothing against being a craftsperson. But unless you've been to the point where your code is so embarrassing to you that you're sort of ashamed of it, then you can't really appreciate it when things are going smoothly. I mean, you sometimes are working on stuff and everything goes smoothly and you can refactor and you're just sitting back watching it hum along. But more often it's more like a movie where the world's about to explode and if you don't get this code in there. And so I guess what I look at this just being, to me, so old, I think, is code accelerating? Is the way people need to learn changing? And okay, it's totally changing in a lot of ways. But I think beyond this idea that you have to constantly be learning, and this is kind of an obvious thing, but what's happening more, I think, is that you have to be accepting not knowing everything. You have to just plug in these things and be ready for it to sort of fall apart and not work. So you just want to be on the edge of things actually working. But I come back to this just because I remember a long time ago someone showed me they were demonstrating X-rays, and they said, no one would make this kind of X-ray, with materials and stuff, unless you can make a lot of money, you can save money, or you can save a life. And really, I think that's everything kind of comes down to that. So if you put the value that you're providing to your client in those terms, you're going to have a lot better time selling an ROI. And yes, you can add artistic expression. You can't add because it's neat. That's not a justification for a project. So I've got an acronym you can't remember, PPHR. The P stands for people. Now, apparently there was an issue with this font. Somebody was complaining about it. It's not that funny of a joke to this crowd, but some people will tell you there's a problem, and I've got a prop for you if you did, but just in case I have this. Okay, well, people. You go to where people are. People hire people. There's no other way to get a job besides talking to people. You do need to know more, just a little bit more than the client, but that's not to say you don't need any skills. You need to have some proficiency. And this is a really subtle thing. When you're talking and when you're writing, putting things in the present tense, active voice, just having a command on your communication makes a huge difference when you're trying to sell yourself to a client. Again, I should roll way back. I'm basing this on being a self-employed programmer, so it's a different market than some of you may be. Good way to learn is to do stuff just a little bit beyond your current capability. And be realistic. Say no a lot. Say no to your client's crazy idea. I mean, they need to be told the honest truth. You don't want a doctor who tells you you're going to everything's fine when actually there's a problem. You want to say no to your own creativity when it's someone else's dime. You don't want to go spending all this time on something they can't appreciate. And just saying no to the wrong clients when it's not a good match. Finally, you want to always be prospecting. And I just mentioned this because you guys need a handbill. Some people don't even have a business card. I've got this stupid thing I hand out. You're welcome to take it. It's kind of fun. But if you can't promote yourself, a handbill is an easy way to promote yourself. So that's my talk. This is what I already said. I think I said all that stuff. And then we'll go to the next person here. So, thanks. So it's Nathan. And do you want 5 minutes or?
Okay. Am I hooking this up right here? You're good? Cool. Can I just use the buttons there?
Yeah, you can use that.
Cool. Hi, I'm Nate. Really enjoying this conference. It's been awesome. I want to tell you a bit about a project that's somewhat node-related, maybe not necessarily, but I think it would be of interest to a lot of people here. Been calling it PurePouch, and what PurePouch is it's a combination of PouchDB and Webrtc. Maybe a quick show of hands. Who's heard of Webrtc? Probably a lot of us. PouchDB? Cool. So just in case somebody hasn't, just so we're kind of all on the same page here, PouchDB lets you store JSON documents, binary attachments in the browser. It's a JavaScript library that runs pretty much anywhere. You can retrieve these JSON documents and binary attachments via key, or you can do like MapReduce indexing or spatial indexing on them. You can replicate data between databases. We'll get back to that shortly. This is, if you're familiar with CouchDB, these first 3 bullet points probably sound really familiar. PouchDB is CouchDB in the browser. Actually, it's also PouchDB in Node.js. WebRTC, real-time communications, is the RTC part for the web. It's audio-video chat. If I had like cool transitions or a laser pointer, I would be slashing through audio-video chat because what I'm using WebRTC for really isn't phone calls or chat. I'm using the direct data connection that it also offers. In a sense, you can think of WebRTC as WebSockets meets peer-to-peer. It lets you set up a direct data connection between 2 browsers, basically, without needing to, poke holes in firewalls and whatnot. Well, we'll get a bit into that later, but so PurePouch combines the 2, mostly just for the love of it, because I think it's a great combo. PurePouch is meant to just let you talk with a remote PouchDB instance. So PouchDB runs in the browser. Why not let users' browsers connect directly to each other and replicate this data? Keep 2 peers' databases in sync. Does this via WebRTC? It works via PouchDB. And I'd like to explain that a little bit more. WebRTC enables peer-to-peer communication, but there's some setup. I think that was covered in one of the little earlier talks. You need to do some setup via a more centralized hub to set up this connection. Just simple peer discovery, right? Like a browser can't really just like port scan the local network, right? They're not going to allow JavaScript to do that. So you need peer discovery. There's some NAT piercing for if like the 2 clients are behind different firewalls and stuff, just to deal with all that. That's done over a central hub. You need to communicate. The client says, hey, I want to give you an offer to connect to me. You have to get this offer to connect, this invitation to connect to the peer. Well, CouchDB changes is great for communication. I put an asterisk by that because it is and it isn't, but it certainly can be used for that. The changes feed of CouchDB basically lets you get the most recent, changes to your database. You can long poll that, you can, or watch it continuously. So it's great for like sending messages, right? If one peer drops an invitation in a database, the other peer can receive notification of that pretty quick. And so we can use that to send all this setup information that we need to make the direct conversation. PouchDB is already, currently, it talks to, you can make a PouchDB instance that talks to, say, a centralized HTTP centralized database. So what we can actually do is let PeerPouch lets you use any PouchDB database to set up its own like database instance connections. So you could actually, because it's implemented in a kind of generic fashion, once you get one peer connection set up where you're accessing a PouchDB instance on a peer's machine, if you've got two people accessing that same peer database, they could use that kind of to set up more connections. I don't really, I haven't fully like done the math or drawn it out, but it almost seems as if, because it's kind of self-hosting in that sense, that you could sort of set up a fragile, decentralized mesh network of these like browser databases where one client chucks data in their database that gets replicated to a remote database that's been set up with another remote peer-to-peer database. Could be kind of fun. And that's really kind of the reason I've been working on this. So I've got the hub plugin working. I've got the connection setup is all working. We can set up a data channel we can use CouchDB as the signaling server in WebRTC terms to set up a data connection. I've got to start on doing the actual RPC. There's a couple little issues that need to get worked through on making it actually somewhat safe. But so it's not actually working, I have to admit. But I think it's kind of cool. Love your enthusiasm, help, contributions. And one of the cool things that might be neat is PouchDB runs in Node.js, and I did a quick search, through NPM, and it looks like there are actually like WebRTC wrappers, that you can NPM install and use WebRTC. So that'd be kind of cool to kind of set up a more peer-to-peer data connection. So if you have any questions, I know it's the idea is kind of it could enable a bit more collaborative web apps. Oh, and so yeah. So if you have any questions, I'm on Twitter, or you can find my email address there. There's a URL for the project if you're interested. Thank you, guys.
Hey, Justin.
Hello. Okay, so we did get those to-go containers up here, if anybody wants to grab that. We're going to be breaking down this stuff right after the lightning talks, and anything that's not taken home is going to go away and hopefully find another home, but maybe find a trash can. So if you wanted food, now's the time to go grab it. Thanks.
Okay. I guess we can do like this and left, right here if you want.
Okay. Hello, my name is Justin. I'm going to talk to you about Git streams. Git streams is an email that gets sent to you that shows the kind of what's happened on GitHub over the past day. One of the issues I have with GitHub is that the activity feed is useless. My work account fills up my entire activity feed, and I miss like the one commit on the project that I care about. GitHub has some facilities for getting around this, but they tend to be all or nothing. I can either have something go into my activity feed where I lose it, or I can have them email me. But what I actually want is a lower volume email source. I think this is especially acute in the Node community where you want tons of small modules. And if you have a 50 module voxel project and you want to know that one commit that happened on that one module, it's really easy to lose that in the UI, in the GitHub UI. So what I have is an email that basically does some fancy group bys. It downloads your public GitHub activity feed and groups by repository. I'll be adding in grouping by user, so you can see what a particular user has been doing over time. But yeah, check this out. It'll make your GitHub life a lot nicer. And it's at gitstreams.com, gitstreams.com. Thanks. Oh, that worked out really well.
Dave. Oh, there you go. Thanks. I'll put you down for 6. It'll be yellow at 5.
Okay. Hi, my name is Dave Miller. I work at a company called Renewable Funding. We're mostly Ruby, but we showed up here to just kind of see the culture and learn about the Node ecosystem. So 2 years ago, Bikeapalooza, which is a Portland summer bike festival with a lot of different rides, there was a ride around a neighborhood called Ladd's Addition. And the goal of the ride was to score as many points as possible. You had to start in the middle circle where it says LC and end there also. You got 1 point for every street you traversed once and a -1 point for every street you traversed more than once. And it was who could ride score the most points in an hour. So I didn't actually make the ride, but I heard about it, and I have a coworker who is a graph theory fan and a Rubyist, and so I challenged him to a code contest to solve this problem, is who could come up with the highest scoring route. I chose Node. I had never used it before, and I actually haven't used it since, so this code's a little stale, but I wanted to throw it up here in case there are any other beginners who want to kind of do a little interesting problem. So Sam, my coworker with Ruby, took his approach, which is called depth-first search. He generated, random, actually not a random, but a ordered walk around where he would discover a legal path, which starts at the circle and ends at the circle, score it, change it slightly, score it, change it slightly again, and score it. And so it's kind of a brute force approach. What I did is took an atom, a randomly generated path that worked, as the fastest randomly generated path I could generate, and say an Eve, and mated them. This one has 4 children. This is the first child, right? I can combine them based on their intersection. Here's another legal path. Here's another one. This one's not as good because it has some overlap at the end. That's minus points. And then there's this path, which is the longest path. So one of the children is higher scoring than the adults. So I would take that make it the new adult, generate a new one, and mate them, and watch my score go up. Should I tell you who won between Ruby and Node? You can find out at this URL, and you can grab the code. Incidentally, this code has been looked at and run by maybe 2 or 3 people, and it's probably will end up making me a couple $100,000. I happened to have a job interview. The guy looked at my GitHub repo, pulled this code, and the interview was all about going through this solution for this problem. And I got an offer. My current employer gave me a big raise to stay, all because of this little Bikeapalooza problem. So over the course of my career, I think it paid off to just hack on something for fun. Thanks.
I said people hire people. It's GitHub hires people. Yeah. Where someone said get or get out or something. GitHub or get out. That's it.
Can we up the volume a little bit, thanks? On the audio. So I just wanted, just wanted to do a little, sorry? Oh, thank you. Okay. Just wanted to do a talk about Node and enterprise software development and fostering the people and a couple of industry veterans. So I'm sort of a dot joiner. I design applications, product hacker. And I noticed that Ward was going to be at this talk today. And so I drove back up from Google I/O. I'd been at Extended I/O. It was like only 669 miles. And I arrived here like 12:30 last night. And so just like a little bit of a story here. So a friend of mine, Mike Koss, we run the Google developers group in Seattle. And Mike was the development manager for Outlook, amongst other things. And I don't know if I'm going to embarrass Ward right now, but hopefully not, but hopefully it's cool with this. And so anyways, Mike was wanted to get his team to be able to collaborate more and see what was going on with when they were working on Outlook in the early days. And so he created some scripts, but the reason he created those scripts was he read about Wiki, and he was following Ward very closely. And anyways, there's a little bit here on Ward's Wiki site, and I made a bit.ly link that you can read some more on it. It's called, I made the link, the bit.ly link, Ward-Trek, not Star Trek, but Ward-Trek. And, but there's a little story behind this in terms of, linking WikiWiki to SharePoint to federated wiki and sustainability. And I was at the Internet Identity Conference last week, and I noticed everybody's sort of working on personal cloud, but got all this identity stuff with no schematic, no product. And it was just like all this identity stuff looking for a use case. And I think we have a very good use case. And so a company that I'm helping in Indonesia, these guys are like experts in textile dyeing. And so who's basically, everybody's got sneakers, yeah? Everybody's got sneakers. And you don't want to have white sneakers, you want to have like a colored sneaker. But when you color the sneaker, that can also pollute the water. So you've got to make sure you've got clean water. And how do we do this? Well, we have to sample the water. So guess what? People use these old antiquated forms. This is what they're still using today to try and measure the water and try and give some information to people like Nike and Adidas and New Balance about this is the water. And it struck me that in order to keep the water sustainable and clean, we really ought to be using more of these more modern technologies than we need to, in my mind, be using products like Ward's Federated Wiki to create small applications that are much more that can coexist in large organizations instead of big SAP apps to collect data elements in order to collect little data and turn it into big data. And so there's basically hundreds and thousands of these mid-sized manufacturers around the world who need to get data into some sort of a big data system, and they don't really have a system to do that. They don't really use wikis, and they try to use SharePoint, but they need something that's sort of middle of the road, something that's a little bit different. Anyways, I think I was pretty showing some fun, and people were really taken by that. So I just want to give some props to Ward, and that was it. Thanks.
I skipped here.
That's okay.
There we go. So my name's Rob Core, and I have a game that I am mid-development in, which is called Constant Sail, and it is all based in Node. So server-side and client-side, it's all JavaScript. It's using MongoDB on the back end. And it has, I use jQuery Mobile as kind of the layout for the system. And it's a pirate game. So you can sail around and sync your friends. It's a massive multiplayer game. So here I'm going to have set up 2 web browsers, Safari and Chrome, each running it at the same time. So basically simulating 2 different users. And so there we go. And I did this initially using PHP, but it was really too slow, so I switched over to Node.js on the server. It's kind of like a real-time game, so it's constantly polling and trying to get information. I experimented with Comet for a while, using like Socket.io, WebSockets, stuff like that, but I'm trying to aim more towards mobile, and it didn't really work out too well. I also was using the Canvas HTML5 element, which doesn't seem to work too well on iOS since it doesn't take advantage of the hardware acceleration for 3D, so paints out pixels. So instead I'm using just CSS sprites to move things around. If you see on the right-hand side, I got 1 user logged in. Left-hand side, I'll have another user logged in a moment. So this game allows you to sail around a ship. There is wind, as you can see by the little cloudy thing coming on the back of the ship there. You can't sail into the wind very easily. It slows you down quite a bit. Here comes the next player. So we got Node PDX against Rob Core here. You'll never guess who will win. So there's a little anchor button you can click on. You can click anywhere on the screen, and it will actually turn your ship to point towards the direction that you're actually going. This is just using straight up just polling against the server. There's no WebSockets going on at the moment. And in the game, you can sail around. Basically, I use the same algorithms on the front end and the back end for the plotting out of the course of the ship. So since it's all using JavaScript, I can easily say, okay, I haven't gotten an update from the server yet as to where my ship is going to be. I'm using the same code on the front end as the back end as the server, so I can predict what the server is going to tell me. So before I even get my update, I can already have the ships moving into that position, which is kind of nice. So one of the problems is when you actually kill a ship, the other ship just says no vision for the ship because it doesn't actually tell you that it's just like, oh, I can't get the vision for it. As you sail along, it basically is getting JSON to figure out what tiles to show as you're going up on the map. It uses a MongoDB database to keep track of your inventory in your ship, so you have food and water and crew and all. You can also buy and sell goods imports, so there's an economic model going on. So we're going to have the guy on the left, he's going to be buying some stuff, and he's going to try and buy some tobacco. The guy on the right, his ship was destroyed, I just reloaded the browser. He has a new ship now, so when you lose a ship, you get a new one at the beginning. Going to sell some cocoa beans because it turned out I didn't have any tobacco. And basically, it's just doing like AJAX request for this and saying, and you can see at the bottom there's a little checkout button, and it's designed for all different types of platforms. So this is not really all that interesting since it's going to sell to the next port and sell the goods and make a little profit. I'm also developing a real-time strategy game as well, kind of like a StarCrafty type game, which is called Rts Api. It's designed not to have a GUI so much. It's designed so that users can design their own GUI, and it just works on API calls to find what units you have available, give them orders, and so on, and also be able to put JavaScript code into the actual units so they can actually control themselves and kind of make a StarCraft game where you can have the units acting intelligently. And then there's going to be a whole communications thing where you won't be able to communicate to units directly far afield, and they have to act on their own. So that's going to be the next game that I'm actually working on. You can see these are all the massive different ships that you can actually buy in the game as you start to progress up and get more and more money. I think I can skip to the end, or not. But yeah, does anyone have any questions at all?
Where are you getting your assets? Are you creating them?
All of the tile assets are from, it's FreeCiv, which is a Free Civilization clone. And the images for the ships I took from the 3D warehouse from Google, which you can basically download 3D models from. And then I just rotated them using like a little Ruby script and then created PNG images for all of the different angles that the ship could be in. And then I think at a certain point I had it where it would tween and like it would twist the image a little bit. So even though I only have 45-degree angles, the little in-between angles were filled in on the client side when you're actually running the app. So you download the one image, and that will give you at least a few degrees of rotation. Okay.
Okay, great.
One more.
Okie doke. So, hi there. My name's Isaac. I work for AndYet, and one of my teammates made this really cool little. It's how many people use client-side templating in their apps, like with Mustache.js and that kind of thing? Okay. So Templatizer is a client-side templating engine that instead of sending the template engine to the client, this creates a JavaScript function that will build the HTML on the client without sending the entire engine down. So you basically, it spins up, well, I'll just show you. So, so here we've got just a regular Express app, but instead of rendering on the server, we're obviously rendering on the client. And here we take our entire folder of Jade templates, and we run it through Templatizer, which will then spit out one JavaScript file with all of those templates as just functions. So this is the output, and it will just so here's all of our Jade views simply as JavaScript functions that will return a string of the HTML. So then in our views, if we want to render a specific bit, a specific Jade file, we just require templates, and then we can call each one of those Jade views as a direct JavaScript function, and it will just we can pass it in any data that we want, and then it will just return that HTML string, and we can pop it into the DOM. So anyhow, it's really if you just Google Templatizer, it will come up. It's Henrik Jorteng's GitHub account. And I would encourage you to check it out. The biggest thing about it is that we've run tests, and it's 6 to 10 times faster on the client than Mustache.js, and if you're downloading the entire template engine. So really improved apparent load speeds, which I think is really exciting. So anyhow, thank you very much.